Officially hunter time. What's up?
Yo.
What's up, you two? Hey, so before I could even post a YouTube video off of what we talked about yesterday, they made a ton of changes. So we'll probably combine a lot of those two things, but like cut out a lot of the stuff that they fixed from first one. I want to discuss this post, talk about the changes they made, and then you guys can kind of give your take on it. We'll look at it in the tree and everything.
Have you read over it yet, Eric?
Yep. I just did a little bit ago. Banger changes.
I am, yeah. It's very surprising. I like it.
I think that just how quick the turnaround of it is the surprising part. Just actually instantly. So let's start with the actual class tree, because there were a few things that I wasn't positive how they would really play out. Just talking about the class tree design says they want all their utility above the second gate. That means they do, as soon as you get to that point, really want you to spend the rest of it on utility, or on throughput, sorry. They made barrage and explosive shot now a choice node, and they kind of specifically mention that they didn't want a bloat of extra abilities and cooldowns because there's just so many points that you're selecting down here. Like you mentioned for like MM, for example, when we were building it yesterday, like just building out what you would normally take, right? You usually end up around the bottom, and then as soon as you did, you just selected basically everything that could apply to your spec, and you didn't even really have to think too hard about it. It was just like keen eyesight, master marksman, death chakrams, explosive shot, barrage, and then like you're selecting serpent sting because like the whole like you're playing lone wolf and you're not going through nesting wherries, so it's like you just have like extra points anyway. So they're saying you're just getting a bloat of abilities because you're selecting so many specific things. So what do you guys think about specifically the barrage and explosive shot choice node?
So interestingly, like I like it. It doesn't change anything though, and I think the most important part of that post for the class tree is like the last sentence there is they're going to keep iterating on this. They don't want all this button bloat. Right now you're going to choose between barrage and explosive shots, so you don't have both. But as a marks hunter, that just gives you more points to take nesting wherries and then steel trap. Nesting wherries is basically an extra button because you have to press freezing trap for damage, and then you'd get steel trap. So I still think they need to kind of work out a way where you don't pick up 5 or 6 extra just buttons that you have to press in your rotation. So some more passive things here would be great.
Okay, so you guys were talking about how Death Chakram and Chakram are two things that are, it's not really a choice. You mentioned Chakrams potentially being good in like super mass AoE or something like that, but basically Death Chakrams is just superior. So you mentioned that maybe just replacing or reworking Chakrams in that node made a lot of sense. So Blizzard decided to replace Chakram now with Stampede, but I know that that's potentially for BM just giving them one less button, right? Because like before they had both, and now they're just going to be picking the better of the two. I don't know the tuning of Stampede. What do you guys think about that?
So it's something that we never really mentioned or talked about before, but it is true that like, especially with BM, that you do have a lot of buttons, just like 31 minute, 2-minute cooldown buttons like that you didn't have before, and a lot of them. So them like trying to reduce that, I guess, makes sense because you did have a lot. Stampede, they changed from 3 minutes to 2 minutes, but the damage still just isn't there. So I'm pretty sure unless they just crank up Stampede, you're still just going to default to Death Chakram.
Okay. And I wonder what that does with pathing over here. I wonder if that like allows you to like easily get some other stuff, or if BM is going to go farther over to the right once it's actually changed. One thing that was noted in multiple builds so far was Nesawari's trapping apparatus, especially for MM, felt like a direct like gate from going left to right. Like you're never considering that because this is just such a massive investment. Let's talk about Nesawari's. Do you guys think this is a full removal angle? It's a 3-point talent, and
yeah, they should just remove it entirely, because if it's 1 point, then it's actually kind of good and people would have to use it. And I don't think anyone...
it's only on freezing trap.
Yeah. That talent has no place being a 3-point talent, and I would just argue for its removal entirely.
So they have now lowered it to 2 points, assuming that the 2 points will still equal out to be as powerful as a 3-point is now. Do you guys see this getting selected and getting a lot of play with the reduced points in the bottom?
I only think so,
unfortunately, yes.
Just because you have so many extra points now.
Do you guys like that as a playstyle as like an MM or BM hunter, where like
No.
on a boss like Lihivim, you're just actually going to wanting to freezing trap the ad over and over again, even the same ad on cooldown just for a damage increase?
Mid true shot, you're going to be pressing freezing trap. it's not it. I don't like it, but
Is there a spec where it feels better, or does it feel like universally bad across all of them?
my personal thought is it's bad across all of them. People might argue otherwise. For a while, it was best for survival, but I'm pretty sure they were pressing it like in the middle of their mongoose bite window, which is just to get more focus. Which it's just kind of, I don't know. It's not great.
I'm kind of putting you guys on the spot here, and I don't know if either of you have a take. But if you were to just actually keep this as a 2-point talent as it's going to be, but if you could replace this as a 2-point talent with anything you could bring back for hunters or add here, that would be a little bit of a bridge between the MM side of the tree and the BM and survival part of the tree. What would be a relevant point? You're very much on the spot, so this is like, if you don't have a good answer, that's totally fine.
I guess it would have to be throughput.
I would just
Yeah, it has to
bring
be throughput, yeah.
like some kill shot interaction or like the kill shot talent at the top of the tree. Just put it down here, and then put
Okay.
more utility in the first two rows, I guess we call them, first two sections.
Yeah. Okay. Moving on to the Beast Mastery tree. So this has been, I think, the main point of BM feedback from you two over the last 2 times we've spoken.
We talked about it last time, but the more I've played BM on Alpha, I hate it. I hate Gilgleaf. It feels really bad to play, actually.
Well, I mean,
Really?
it would be a lot better if
Wait,
your Beast
why
Cleave
does
was
why does
longer,
it feel
right?
bad to play? Is it just
You
because
just have no focus. Beast Cleave, you have to multi-shot every 2 globals. You just don't have the focus, or like your globals are so locked in. You're sacrificing like Beast Cleave uptime to get kill cleaves in, and it just, I don't know. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, it's simply put, if this is going to be 3 talent points, it needs to extend the duration of Beast Cleave.
Seems like they have just directly addressed that. They made
Great
it
change.
so, yeah, great change. So Beast Cleave is now a 2-point talent, with it being just as powerful as this 3-point talent is, except it also, with the second point, increases the duration of Beast Cleave to 6 seconds, which was your all's suggestion. So that's pretty sick. I don't know if does that change the way you play too much? Like, is that like, I'm assuming you guys are making it a big deal. I assume that's a big deal.
It might not seem like a lot, but it is.
And I don't know if we were actually talking about this, because like you guys talk about how Murder of Crows is like kind of whatever for BM, but how Dire Beast has all of this integration in the bottom part of the tree. They reworked Dire Pack to be all about Dire Beast, and then this is about Dire Beast, and this is about Dire Beast. This entire line is all Dire Beast related. However, Dire Beast is just on the actual spell Dire Beast is just all the way on the right side of the tree. So just like a little bit of pathing change. They put it to where Murder of Crows was, and moved Murder of Crows and Bloodshed into a choice node, and it's going to be up here where Dire Beast was. How do you guys feel about that?
I think it makes sense to move the Dire Beast into the Dire Beast part of the tree. So it's just like a direct line. You get Dire Beast, Stomp, and then 6 points, then interact with Dire Beast.
What about Bloodshed and Murder of Crows as a choice node specifically?
It goes back to the thing where it reduces the button bloat that BM suffers a lot more than the other 2 specs, but I think it's fine.
Like, are
It's
there
just,
different scenarios where you would take each thing?
yeah, generally
so, yeah.
speaking, I think you just take whichever one's tuned better, but there certainly are situations where you can game Murder of Crows and get resets, and even if it's tuned less than Bloodshed, it'll be more throughput through resets.
All right, cool. Love to hear that. Okay, so they're referring to the thing that is a choice node at the bottom right that is a capstone currently with Wild Instincts. You guys were talking about this being really good previously, where like having Barb Shot affect all of your pets with the, Call of the Wild and everything that interacts with that down here is really strong. They said that they're moving it away, so it is no longer a capstone. Right?
No, I don't think I think this is a brand new talent, and they just kind of named it. They made a mistake here. Like, it's just a duplicate name. It's just a new talent in the middle section.
Okay.
That's how I interpreted it.
Okay, we'll have to wait and see where the placing would be, because everything right now is like kind of already in this. It might actually be here.
It's like where Crows could be, yeah.
Yeah, it's like because Crows has moved to a talent point with Bloodshed, so they're probably putting it in the place of Crows, which also... Okay, you can talk about it, sorry.
The weird thing about this one is, like, BM Hunter has no problem getting to 3 stacks of Frenzy, because, 3 is the cap. You can't go higher than that. Its problems are, maintaining a 3 stack, especially if you're not taking talents on the right-hand side, like Wild Call and One with the Pack. But this doesn't do anything to help you maintain the buff. This is just to stack it up faster, which is not really solving any kind of problem. And I'm curious what the design intention here is.
Yeah, it doesn't really make sense, because it's nice in like the opener, and the rare couple of times you do drop your 3 stack, like you just instantly back to 2 on a chance. But other than that, it seems like pretty useless, like very low use. talent.
Like, is it gonna help synergize with Call of the Wild because you're constantly spawning more pets with no stacks? Like, it's a
I think
I'm
something
just
better would
curious
be
to know
like
what the thought was
Barb
behind
Shot
it.
has a chance to instantly like refresh its cooldown or something like that.
Okay. And then actually, I mentioned about its pathing being where Murder of Crows. It's definitely wrong. So Dire Beast will be where Murder of Crows is. Murder of Crows is a choice node with Bloodshed, but that choice node will be up here. So it's actually like kind of hard to tell where that's going to be. Okay, so definitely kind of, yeah, just you guys don't really like the design of it, right? So it's, if you're barb shotting anyway, like the second stack, you're like keeping it up. So maybe, yeah, like you said, it buffs the new ones faster. So like if you're constantly just yeeting out pets, it's just like you feel like you're getting much more efficient use of that. And more often than not, that second stack is actually relevant instead of just a refresh.
Yeah, that's kind of the thought, but I hopefully we get a response there and there's some decision making behind it that we're missing right now.
Sure. Okay. And then that's all of the Beast Mastery stuff, so we'll probably wait until like when they actually implement this and we can see the pathing. We'll talk about it again. But I think overall BM was already like a solid tree. They fixed one issue with also just in general, like if you're looking at a general BM tree currently and like where you're actually going down and getting your points, you're just gaining points in general, right? Like even alongside mentioning like the new abilities and like how insane it is, you're also just you have more points in the bottom in general, and just also one extra point to use total from the nerf to Beast Cleave if you're ever cleaving ever, which is like anything over one target, right? Or is it 3 targets? 2? Yeah, so I mean like almost all like 90-80% of the time, right? You're just gonna your tree just got better. You have an extra point, so very, very sick. Let's move on to MM. This is the one that got the most changes today, I believe.
Great changes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, overall great. That's good. I know Marksman and Survival were definitely the two in the most need of Jesus a couple of weeks ago. They gave a little bit of rhetoric about rapid fire. They're basically saying your passive focus generation is so limited that, that's what they really want rapid fire to be a core part of your kit. And they don't want you to just be, it's so good that you're like dropping steady shot, basically. So they made Deathblow a 1-point node. We've spoken about this node a lot.
So Deathblow
shot.
and Razor Fragments are on the left-hand side.
Okay.
Razor Fragments is what they just added, and Deathblow above it. This is a mechanic that they added to all of the specs, and right now it's tuned really poorly, in my opinion. I don't know why they added a mechanic for this for each of the specs when they could have just brought back Flayed Shot, which is the Venthyr ability. So Deathblow by itself is cool. It has some clear uses on single target, but you have to take volley or trick shots to get to it, right? Like if you want to use this on single target, you have to go through volley or trick shots. Kind of restrictive in that sense. I think it's a fun talent to play with, being able to kill shot at any percent HP. It just needs to probably have a higher percent proc chance.
Okay. And it also made it so rapid fire casts, not the actual event of it hitting, but the cast of it can now also activate Deathblow, which is the down here, right? So aim shot, and they're also making it a 1-point node to give 20%. So as a 1-point aim shot and the use of rapid fire has a 20% chance to give you a kill shot.
Yeah, who knows what the percent's going to be. I mean, I hope it's higher than 10. 10 probably wouldn't be strong enough. I hope this talent is good because I think it is pretty fun. Just being able to kind of use kill shot throughout a fight. It's it's exactly what Venthyr hunters can do now, and it adds some flavor to the rotation. That's pretty fun.
It also seems like a pretty hard stance answer against how every single time the Venthyr ability has been brought up so far when we've talked, it's always been like, yeah, they're trying to replicate it, but by doing it through different ways. And seeing them continue down that path would also lend us to believe that they're almost certainly not bringing back the actual Venthyr ability.
Which is fine. I think this is a great solution for it, assuming it's tuned properly and you actually get to play with it over the course of the expansion. But again, that's a tuning thing. I think the idea behind this is great, especially with the change below it is amazing.
Great change.
But Razor Fragments, what they added below it, makes no sense to me. The Venthyr legendary now is whenever you get a proc from Flayed Shot, your next kill shot just does AoE and more damage. For this requires you to have trick shots up. I don't know why they would do that. Like, why can't this just be all kill shots, deal 20% more damage, and do the AoE? Like, you have to get trick shots up, be below 20%, or get a proc from Deathblow.
Yeah, it's too many requirements. This was actually, I think, your all's biggest MM feedback. It was right at the end when we were talking about MM yesterday, where Razor Fragments just felt like it had too much restriction of what needs to be the case. You have to have a proc, they have to be below 20% or in kill shot range, but also you needed to have trick shots, right? So there's just too many things going on at once, and they basically just made it so just Deathblow procs in general without trick shots also work on this, making it... I'm assuming this is like a take in AoE?
It depends on the. I think it depends, but it's also a take in single target because it applies the debuff in single target, or it should, and does more damage on the kill shot. This is literally how the Vent 3 Legendary works now, and it was very strong for hunters for a long time until 2 legendaries came out.
Oh, sweet. Okay. They changed bombardment. I'm gonna press shift. Did you guys know shift existed on this website?
Just learned that today.
Dude, it's so broken.
Whoa.
Yeah, you can just hold shift and then like, because there's so many times, dude, it's like you guys are actually really good with it, but like I'll just be talking to like mages or some shit and I'm like on the, mage thing, and then like Preheat's not actually looking at my screen share. He's just like talking about actual abilities, and he's like, yeah, we're gonna grab like arcane beam and arcane like this, and I'm just like, holy shit, where I'm in the frostbite, but I'm just like where they all look like arcane things, right? Like, where is it? But dude, the shift tech is actually wild. Okay, so bombardment. Each arcane cast increases the damage of your next multi-shot by 100%, stacking up to X amount of times. They made this work with Chimera Shot as well. So a point of feedback yesterday was, man, you really aren't taking Chimera Shot a lot of times in this expansion outside of like an actual pure 2-target thing. It happened once or twice, I think, in all of Shadowlands, right? What does this do to Chimera Shot, and how does this feel for MM?
So this is like a different take of the same tier set we currently have on live, just like kind of works differently, but it allows you to have 2-target cleave, which is what the current tier set does, but it's pretty like restrictive. And I actually think like if it's more friendly, because 6-4 and then a multi-shot sounds like a lot to get one cleave off. Like, I think the design is fine, just the numbers are too high.
Yeah, I think that it depends on how they want to implement it, because there's that sub bullet point where they mention, it might also boost your multi-shot damage per rank, but they also might keep it as a 1-point node and not increase your multi-shot damage. If they keep it as a 1-point node and it's just that first bullet point, it should exist as a talent that, like, you're not required to take it to go to another talent, like, because in that situation it'd be purely used in a 2-target scenario like Chimera Shot. Like, Chimera Shot is not the only path to get to a talent below it. So if bombardment is only good for 2-target, it should be, in a place in the tree where it's not the only path to a talent below it. I like the idea of it. It's not permanent 2-target, but it's a way to take a talent that does increase the, Marksman Hunter's 2-target damage, because you already have volley, which gives you trick shots. You're going to have Chimera Shot, and then, outside of your true shot windows, every, 15, 20 seconds, you'll get to have an extra trick shots on 2 targets. So I think it's pretty good. It's just, it depends where they put it in the tree. As long as it's not, required to take like something below it, that'd be awesome.
I also think I would love them to, especially in a triple DPS class, to have more niches covered in general. Like, BM has always been the like consistent damage class. MM has been like a burst 2-minute AoE class this expansion, mostly because of Wild Spirits, but they've also just had like nice AoE just kind of all the time. They're just built like that. And survival is like kind of its own thing. But like, I would like there to be within some spec of Hunter, and obviously MM seems to be the easiest fit for it, where they actually do have strong like 2 to 3 target cleave all the time, right? So I would like to have them lean more into allowing them to have like good 2 target. Not a lot of classes in the game actually have that.
And that's what their current tier on live does, and it feels great to play. I really enjoy this current tier, and it seems like this is trying to replicate that, but just like a different take on it. And I think it would actually play really well if they removed the multi-shot part of this. Like, if it just read every 6-4 arcane or chimeras you gained trick shots, It would be great.
And they might even do that. Like, keep in mind, like, if they don't add the part where you get extra multi-shot damage, they might just say, hey, every 6 or 4 arcane or chimera shots, you get trick shots.
Yeah,
I think
awesome.
they're still like kind of working out how they want to implement this. But I think regardless of how it ends up, unless they totally butcher it, it'll be a nice change to have for 2 targets.
Okay. They moved Lone Wolf's spot in the tree above the first gate. Now, this is interesting because what MM had an issue with before was you just took too many talents in the top compared to a lot of other classes. Like here I have 13, I think, without killing blow. And that's actually like much more in line, but they reduced it from 19, and now it's gonna have
14?
like one, go back up. I would have to see. I think more things you're gonna have to see the whole picture before this individual thing makes sense, most likely. So probably not a lot to talk about.
Yeah, I like it. Lone Wolf should be towards the top of the tree. It should be easy to get to for people that want to take it, which is, I mean, most hunters want to take it. But for those that are doing, open world content and they want to play with the pet, it's easily skippable, so they can get to other talents.
More things connect to lock and load. I think that was one major thing you brought up yesterday, Podra, was everything on the right paths back to the left, but not vice versa.
Yeah, the right side of the tree is too inaccessible here. From Bullseye and then 3 talents up, every single one of those has a link to the left, but there's no link to the right. If you want to take Wailing Arrow, you have to commit all the way in the first tier. Like, why couldn't there be a link from Double Tap to Legacy of the Windrunners? So you can access this right side of the tree from the middle or from the left.
And there's just the fact that you have to take Legacy of the Windrunners in this example to get to lock and load instead of having some stuff coming off the middle or straight down from Double Tap, for example. Just adding some pathing there. I think that solves a little bit of the issue. It'll be hard to tell, right? Because they also moved a couple other things.
Like that, because it's very weird because they're going to move Lone Wolf, obviously.
The way I see this in my head is they put lock and load where DT is, or where Lone Wolf is, and then it just connects to everything.
Okay.
Yeah, as long as they introduce some way to get to the right side of the tree from that, column with Double Tap, Lone Wolf, lock and load, I think it's fine.
Okay, cool.
But if they're just adding a link from, let's say, Double Tap to lock and load, that's not solving anything.
Nothing to really talk about with the next thing. It says some redundant node connections have been removed. We didn't talk about this yesterday, but you said that there are 4 of them that actually make no sense.
That's funny. It's just a UI thing. From surging shots on the left-hand side to volley, it does literally nothing, that link, because if you take the talent above volley, you already have access to volley.
Yep.
So there's a bunch of those on a lot of the class trees, and that's just kind of a thing to remove so the trees look a little prettier, I guess.
Yep. Let's see. Legacy of the Windrunners and Serpent Stalker's trickery nodes have been swapped. So I'm assuming Windrunner's guidance will also be under this still. So this tangent is gone, and I assume just right here is going to read just directly in this line, Legacy of the Windrunners here, and then the Windrunner's guidance right under it. And then Serpent Stalkers will be all the way up here, do you think?
Probably.
Yeah, I'm very confused what they're doing here, but I'm sure they have an idea for this right side of the tree. As long as you can get there from the left, side, I'm cool with it. I don't care where they really end up.
And then the big one. Even after, as I scroll up, Pod H himself mentioned how True Shot needs to be more powerful and that this capstone line needs to be more enticing. And all the times we've talked about this tree, and this guy told you to your face that you're wrong.
Blizzard said, the guy on the forum said, they're okay with you not, using your precise shots stacks during True Shot, aka don't press Arcane Shot during True Shot. So during the duration of your True Shot, you're getting no value out of this talent. So it's just a weird counter synergy, and I don't like it. I think the talent below would have to be so broken for you to take it. And I think Blizzard's big problem with buffing True Shot is they need to buff it in a way where it makes single target a lot better, but not buff AoE so much. Hunter's always gonna, MM's always gonna be fine on AoE. I think Trick Shots is just so good. And then you have all these other talents in the class tree, like Explosive Shot, Death Chakrams, that help with AoE, that they're afraid of buffing True Shot because it'll just make the AoE too strong.
He eventually caved and made it so Unerring Vision, as now I assume, we don't know the numbers.
God bless.
Yeah, is now probably a significant increase to that spell, assuming they give you as much crit damage value as they're currently giving you in crit, making that basically twice as good. And they obviously
it's a lot more appealing because it synergizes with other talents, and crit is already a good stat for Marks Hunters. More crit isn't really needed, but crit damage plays so well with other things like Bullseye, the kill shot crit chance increase, aim shot crit chance increase. So crit damage is awesome. Now there's one thing I wanted to mention here is that if Unerring Vision is very good, this choice node, it's not really a choice node. It's purely throughput. So what I think they should do, and I really hope they take this into consideration, the talent above it, calling the shots, reduces the cooldown of True Shot whenever you arcane or multi-shot. People don't love it right now because you don't arcane shot during your True Shot very much. But if they made this the choice node option alongside Unerring Vision and moved Eagle Town's True Focus to where calling the shots is,
I see.
You'd be in a situation where, okay, I can play, with a 1 minute True Shot build for Mythic Plus dungeons or a fight like Sludge Fist, or I can go with a 2-minute True Shot it's a lot more impactful.
It's quite literally what the Fire Mage tree does. Is that actually where you got that idea? So at the very bottom, they give them a choice node between having a Giga 2-minute Combust or Kindling, right?
Yeah,
that's literally what you're.
This would be perfect if it was the exact same thing. Let you play with a shorter, weaker True Shot or a stronger, longer cooldown True Shot. Because as of right now, like with this, you're just gonna pick whatever is more throughput every single time. There's no decision to make.
I like that. Very, very bright. I think we're good with MM. This covers all the changes that were talked about. There were a few things we brought up yesterday that they didn't address, but I think it's like not really a good idea to go super deep into it because it looks like the pathing of the tree again is just going to look like pretty different than it does right now. So
yeah.
Just look at that next week. Survival. So our two biggest points of contention yesterday with survival was that their cooldowns in the bottom of the tree just don't feel like they're fully realized or understand what they want to be yet. Obviously, it's like the first part of the paragraph that they're doing, but they have made it so these are a little bit more... Well, I'll just kind of get into it and just see what you guys think. I know you were pogging in chat earlier, so I'm interested to see where survival goes, and I'm very interested at the end of this to hear maybe what kind of playstyle differences or niches that they'll fill. Because you guys were pretty happy with the tree overall yesterday. Like, there were issues with it, but you were like, this is so much better than previously, right? Okay, so Mongoose Bite replacing Raptor Strike. That's just an alpha bug, right? I'm assuming it just actually wasn't replacing it and you had two of them. Okay. Predator returned to 25% rather than 8 when they made this a 3-point talent. When they reduced it to a 1, they just forgot to add the full power. So this is a huge power gain. You're getting a 3-point thing that's basically required for 1 point, and it's at the same power level. It's super good.
Yeah, Predator's great because it has less interactions now with other talents, but it's fun because the kill command reset plays into a lot of other things within the spec. So being at 8% chance made no sense.
Okay. A connection between lunge and frenzy strikes has been removed to prevent a dependency problem. That's just the range thing, allowing you to potentially path through frenzy strikes without selecting the two things that would make frenzy strikes do anything in the first place. Nothing to talk about there. Deadly Duo renamed Quick Shot. Shift Gang, 1 second. There it is. This was renamed Quick Shot, and now it's the redesign is when kill command's cooldown is reset, which you get a lot of as survival, you fire a free arcane shot at your target. What do you guys think about that?
That sounds very strong.
I think it's strong. It's maybe a little bit boring, but I think if you look at the talent to the bottom right, Ranger, this is kind of like some flavor they added, like more for like PvP, certain kinds of content that it's kind of like a range survival. They're not leaning into a full range survival spec. But for whatever reason, this doesn't include Arcane Shot. This should include an Arcane Shot and have synergy with the new Quick Shot.
Oh, cool.
You might not always take it, but I think it would be
that makes sense.
Pretty interesting.
Nice. Coordinated Assault.
This used to be our single target, or it used to be our main damage cooldown. They changed it, and now whenever your pet does a basic attack, your next spell is empowered, either Carve or Kill Shot. Carve makes sense. It just increases your CDR on bomb more, but single target, that's worthless. Now, Kill Shot, it applies a really strong bleed to your target that stacks. But the problem with this is, like, if you read this has no value on single target outside of execute. So that's terrible. And oh my god, they made it a 3-minute cooldown when it used to be 2-minute. And then they just insulted us by putting the talents below it to make it 2 minutes again.
Oh, wow. Again, something we talked about yesterday. There's multiple classes with this kind of feedback. Paladins have had it as well, where they're just to fill out buttons. They're breaking down your cooldowns as they currently exist and making you talent into things later that just make them the way they are currently. And sometimes in classes it's worse than others. But right now, to make Coordinated Assault a 2-point talent or a 2-minute cooldown, you have to select the ability and then also 2 things just to reduce it to what it should be in the first place. They have now fixed that to make it a default baseline 2 minutes, immediately granting you 2 free points of power on the tree from where you got before. And they also made it no longer modify Carve. Instead, the pet special attack increases the initial damage of your next wildfire bomb. And then also something to note after.
So cool. Yeah.
They're also reworking Birds of Prey, the capstone directly under Coordinated Assault later. And again, before we go further, another change, I'll let you talk about all of it in a second. Bonded Companion, the old thing that reduced the CD, is now Deadly Duo and redesigned. And while the CD, the 2-minute CD, is active, Wildfire Bomb's cooldown is reduced by 50%. It generates 10 focus when you throw it, and Kill Shot can be used on any target regardless of target HP.
Excellent changes. It sounds so fun.
This looks really fun. I think Coordinated Assault's going to have potential strengths in both, obviously, cleave scenarios. It also might be very good on single target. I think that the interaction with kill shot is still going to apply as well. So it's going to be, your next spell cast, whether it be kill shot or wildfire bomb, is buffed, and kill shot can be used at any percent HP, kind of like death blow for marksman.
Mm-hmm.
Bombs generating focus and having lower cooldown, that's great. And then they'll probably redesign birds of prey to work with, I'm assuming, wildfire bomb and kill shot, but who knows how they'll make that work. But I also like birds of prey, just extending the duration of the cooldown. I think this will be really, really fun to play with.
It sounds so good.
I wonder if they'll like lower the cooldown of kill shot or anything, because right now kill shot has a 10-second cooldown, so
You'd only get one.
you'd get 2 uses,
Yeah.
and then maybe another 1 or 2 based on how you extend it. It's still not clear how it should work with kill shot, because on alpha, every pet attack was giving you a charge of kill shot. That's probably going to be too strong, but if they also reduce the cooldown by half, that'd be really good too.
Yeah, it's also interesting with Birds of Prey extending the duration of this. They said they just wanted to adjust it to work more directly with the design tweaks. I imagine that just means that uses of either or all of them, wildfire bombs or kill shot, will also extend it, as well as Mongoose Bite, Raptor Strike, or Butchery, right?
I think they'll take away the Mongoose Bite
Yeah.
Raptor Strike, because that's going to be over on the right hand side with coordinated kill. So, but I think maybe they might want to look into lowering the cooldown of kill shot as well during this, but I haven't played with it, so I'm not sure how strong it is.
Oh, dude, Avade is here. Let me get him to get in. Oh, hello, Avade. We're actually almost done talking about survival, so you can kind of give your takes on it in a second. Here, I'll link you the post.
For survival?
Yep. Well, it's for all hunters, but just focus on the survival part for now.
The survival changes clear up the 2 main cooldowns at the bottom of the tree, and it's awesome.
Yeah, like it makes the capstone line off of coordinated assault feel like giga OP instead of like turbo dog shit like it was yesterday. And we didn't talk about yet what the capstone for coordinated kill was. So the spearhead thing is now redesigned. It's 2 points instead of 3, and then while it's active, Raptor and Mongoose Bite focus cost is reduced, and kill command resets increase the duration of spearhead, the cooldown, by 1 or just 2 seconds when you have both of them talented.
This is also pretty insane. I mean, this is very clearly just purely single target. You get way more Raptor Strikes and Mongoose Bites because you don't need to, regen as much focus because it's, cheaper with focus. And then you get extra kill command resets during your spearhead. And so you're getting more of those, which is going to increase the duration of the buff itself. So it's also like Birds of Prey in the same sense. So both of these major cooldowns you'll be able to extend.
How do they interact with each other? Like they're obviously one's a 2 minute and one's a 1.5. Is it something you'd want to use them separately?
It depends how they line up. Extending Spearhead is probably going to be only Raptor Strikes and kill commands. Like, you don't really want to be pressing Bomb or Kill Shot during it. And then, like, the opposite for Coordinated Assault. So it's kind of weird how they want you to play with it. I'm not really
I was about to
sure.
say, because, like, when we were filling out our single target tree yesterday, you almost exclusively ignored, like, Fury the Eagle over on the left, right? So, like, if you're doing, like, a normal build with capstones, just obviously selecting, like, kind of a bunch of random shit, but, you're going to end up down at the right in single target grabbing this stuff. So
yeah, it's not super clear what they want like Fury the Eagle to be. It's like AoE execute. I mean, hopefully it's good on single target execute as well. That'd be sweet. Like, if you had to make a choice, do I need strong execute for single target? Go Fury the Eagle. If we don't need strong execute, you can play coordinated assault.
The only thing I can say about the talent tree and the changes they're trying to do is that it doesn't really change much of how it plays. It may fix some of the, like, jank in some of the talents, like coordinated assault, but if you actually go into alpha and, like, select that best single target build, you have a builder, a spender, and 2 like 20-second cooldown abilities, and that's like the entire class, which is like very like
yeah.
boring.
I mean, I would say the single target
Extremely
playstyle is not the most fun.
It's not a playstyle. You're just building and spending. You know what I mean? That's like my main complaint about the tree. The fun of it is pretty bad.
Definitely, but I mean, I think it would take a major redesign of the spec to make survival single target specifically a lot more fun.
Yeah, see, that's something that I'm noticing about survival that probably plays a lot differently than most specs in the game currently, is it seems like you're going to be like pressing a 2-minute cooldown where you have a few abilities that are very empowered, and you're kind of like extending a cooldown and also just like spamming abilities with a reduced cooldown in the CD to generate focus and just to do damage. And then your other cooldown, which you will also press, is the exact same thing, kind of, but just with 2 other abilities. And I don't know if any other class in the game actually plays like that, where they have like 2 major offensive CDs, and both of them involve you hitting different buttons during it. It's like really weird.
Yeah, and then you have like Viper's Venom, kind of like removing a button from the rotation as well. Potentially, you know, I don't know if it'll actually apply Serpent Sting if you don't have it talented on the Hunter tree.
On the left-hand side there.
Also,
this thing, yeah.
I don't think you would ever take 2 points in that because like you're going to be pressing it so much.
Oh
Well,
yeah, I just like.
it depends if you're going to
selected.
Wildfire Infusion or not, right?
Yeah.
Dude, but the AoE build seems kind of crazy. Like when we were talking about what you would do with that yesterday, it all just came down to like all this stuff on the bottom, and you ended up getting like Fury the Eagle and Coordinated Assault. But you guys were just like, yeah, no, it doesn't really make sense right now. But I feel like this for AoE now, this is very multi-purpose.
Big
Like
bombs.
I feel like you're going to be taking Coordinated Assault in all content the entire expansion. Like this honestly like isn't even a choice. Like it's just straight down the middle.
Yeah.
You're running.
It
you're
seems
running with these
great for
changes.
single target. It seems great for AoE. I think it's going to be a lot of fun to play with.
The only
And then
problem
Fury
is,
the Eagle versus Spearhead will depend on the content that you're doing, ideally, in a perfect world.
And just to be clear, Coordinated Assault's change is just that it's a 2-minute cooldown now, and it buffs Bomb.
Yeah, and then the talent below it, when Coordinated Assault is up, Bomb has a 50% lower cooldown and generates 10 focus.
Oh yeah,
And your kill shot can be used on any percent HP.
And also your buff is extended. They're redesigning it, but the very bottom capstone is also buffing it, so Coordinated Assault is just going to be extended by the new playstyle of this cooldown as well.
Okay.
So it sounds
So
like
it
you
seems
might
like
just be a
the
cooldown up all the
gameplay-
time.
Yeah, the
This is gonna be
gameplay
Bomb's
of
fan.
that, if you have like permanent Coordinated Assault, the gameplay actually might be like okay if that's like the case. But again, that's I don't know how likely that is, but have your cooldown up permanently. But
I
if
doubt
you're like constantly, you know, pressing bombs and kill shots and stuff, like then that actually spices up the rotation.
Yeah, I
Make it
hope they
much
lower the
less dull.
cooldown of kill shot during Coordinated Assault too. Because
Well,
right now you'd get it every 10 seconds.
the
which
talent
is
to the bottom right of Coordinated Assault like plays into that pretty well.
Yeah, that's a great talent to play with Coordinated
Well,
Assault.
that's actually interesting too. Is there's not actually a lot of points to even get it. Like if you grab, if you
Or big
actually,
talent locked.
I think you're top of my head. You can spend 1 more point down here before it unlocks it. So if you wanted to get like oh no, you're right. They didn't actually address a couple of things we talked about where a lot of the stuff that increases your crit chance on things, it doesn't make sense to actually take all 3 points, right? Because it crit caps you. I don't think they actually addressed that, right? Like Ruthless Marauder is one of them where if you go down and grab this, you would actually only ever want 2 of them, right?
Yeah, Coordinated Kill was the other one, but they're redesigning it.
They redesigned it, yeah. So this one, they redesigned this one, but they didn't really touch this one. So if you actually, that's not true. If you wanted to take a full AoE build and all these points we know are staying the same, you can take 2 Explosive Expert with both of these capstones.
You need Wildfire Infusion.
Oh, never mind.
Yeah, you just wouldn't take Deadly Duo, which is the new
Do you need
arcane shot
Wildfire
thing.
Infusion?
I'd assume
Yeah.
so.
Yeah, you need it. Well, you need it probably less now, but I think it's still really good.
And then in single target, you just slam.
The right side.
You're
Just
always
slam the right
I
side
think you're
instead.
always taking Spearhead and single target, and then hopefully there's a choice of Fury the Eagle versus Coordinated Assault, but Coordinated Assault just looks way better.
So I guess what the copium is, or the hopium is, you want in single target, because your rotation and your ability cooldowns outside of any major cooldown window are so long and just very, very bland, that you're just saying that with both of these capstones both focusing on increasing the cooldown or increasing the duration of both of these cooldowns, that you're just hoping you're in one of them basically all the time, or else the spec's going to feel really bad. But it seems like that's kind of what they're going for.
Yeah, that kind of seems like the case.
I'd like to play with it because in my head they seem like very counterintuitive. Like you want to do them separately. I don't think you want to do them at the same time.
Yeah, it's giga weird. Like you wouldn't pop them both on the pole, for example,
Yeah.
right?
Like you
would,
pop your Coordinated Assault, and then you're
And when
in your
it runs
Coordinated Assault
out-
window, and then when you're done with that, you swap over to Spearhead. And then when you're done with your
there's
Spearhead
honestly
window,
like
you swap to
nothing.
Coordinated Assault.
There's like honestly nothing in the game that plays like
It's
that.
very weird.
It's
I had to
very
play
it's
with
very unique. I mean, it could be insane, honestly. Like who knows?
I
Like,
think
it's like-
you'd still have globals for everything, but we just gotta play with it. I think.
Unfortunately, nothing's been implemented on
Yeah.
Alpha. I've been actually trying to log in and play it every time, but like none of the traits actually work. So it actually would help a lot to be able to play it and kind of get a feel for it.
Oh, dude, someone in chat actually had a great. None of you guys will even know what I'm. Oh no, Avade will. It's like Final Fantasy 14 Paladin rotation, the tank. It's like you like go through with your. I even forget the atonement phase, and then like your dot phase, and like you're kind of going through 2 different things. But I don't think the cooldowns are too long for it to kind of function exactly like that. But there is nothing in WoW that actually plays like your rotation is just like completely different during this cooldown, and then you have a other cooldown where you ignore the other shit and then go back. Like nothing in the game currently plays like that.
I don't think you would space them out, but it's hard to say. I don't know.
I doubt it. I think you press them together and you have enough globals to make it work, but you might not even take both of them at the same time. It's entirely possible. Like Fury of the Eagle could be really good. I mean, hopefully Fury of the Eagle is good.
Yeah, you probably didn't read the rest of the thing, Avade, but like they made a couple of changes to like the general class tree as well. They made Barrage and Explosive Shot a choice node. We don't know exactly where it exists. They reduced Nessingwary's trapping from 3 to 2, and they made Stampede replace Chakrams in this choice node. I actually wonder where Survival would end up pathing with that. It'd be like somewhere.
Eric, Stampede scaled by BM Mastery? I assume it is.
I assume so.
Yeah,
Actually,
that's just gonna be a throughput choice, unfortunately. But
it wasn't hitting very hard when I was playing with it.
Stampede's been bad for years.
Yeah, but it did do good AoE, but it was like a frontal, like the way you actually used it. So I used it on one of the target dummies that was slightly elevated, and it missed.
Yeah, they're just looking to remove some of the button bloat here.
Yeah, so like as a survival hunter, for example, I just went down. I don't even know if this is correct. It's probably somewhere close to what survival would do. Now, which you're not selecting Stampede, it's a choice with Death Chakram, and where you're not selecting Barrage, it's a choice with Explosive Shot. So it doesn't really change too much with what you're doing, right?
Yeah, I think it's
single target probably. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, cool.
I would say the one shame of the hunter base tree is that once you get to the damage talents, you can't have any more utility talents. Like you're only picking from the bottom once you get there.
This is the big debate, I think. This is the biggest open-ended thing that is just so apparent between multiple trees. Is there is two very distinct class tree designs that exist right now. There is the hunter tree, there's the death knight tree, there's the priest tree, there's the mage tree. Mage is probably even the most relevant. I'll just do this real quick just for the sake of argument. Just go down and grab the stuff you 100% need. You grab, this stuff, grab that, grab shimmer. There's a whole bunch of other problems, but I'm just going to try to keep it easy so it's not weird and hard to follow. And then as soon as you get to the bottom here, look, you just unlocked the last thing, 0 more decisions. It's just pick your 2 capstones, slam it, and that's what you do. And then you have one extra point, and it's just like it's a whole other discussion where like a lot of their singular points are just in turbo dog shit on Mage. But like your decision making's over. Compare that, and I've used this in a conversation yesterday, but not when you two were here. Like compare this to Shaman, right? And there's other trees like this too. Druid's exactly the same. Evoker's exactly the same. Where you're spending, I'll just use Shaman as the example though, where I'll just spend all the stuff, at least for Ellie Shaman, that is money back guaranteed required to be in all content. And I'll just show you like at which levels that actually changes. But like at this point, you're actually done with throughput. And then if you want defensiveness, you go grab this, grab the movement with Spirit Walk or Gust of Wind, and grab Nature's Swiftness, and you are sitting here with 10 points of things that are purely based on the fight.
Like they're all utility kind of stuff?
Yeah, some of them are defensive, so like if you want to be a little bit more restrictive, instead of 10, let's just say you want to grab, Wind Rush and Nature's Guardian, because like Nature's Guardian's like sick, right? Think like the Druid Conduit, but you can just always have it now. You don't have to choose between anything else. If you want like AG, again, AG for like Ellie is like kind of situational. Even then, at that point, you still have 4. So like on a kick fight, you can select Kicked or Cap or Cleanse Spirit or Purge or whatever, but you have just all of these options here, and you don't need them all for every fight. So like there actually is legitimate choice to go up and get utility.
And
utility,
so many
utility
nodes.
and defensives are like always way more fun to choose between.
I very much think they're still working on that for hunters. Right now, hunters don't have this problem because you take your 20 points in the first 2 sections of the tree, and it doesn't change because all the other utility abilities are so bad. But if they do end up adding some good utility, defensives, etc., then you would run into that problem that mages have.
It's just that like half the class trees work totally different than the other.
Yeah.
It's like they didn't come to a conclusion on how it should work. It was just like up to the devs' individual discretion, and they just like went half and half on what it should be. But I can just say from pure like talking about all of these, it just feels purely better to be someone whose class tree looks like this, where after you get to the end, you're making decisions on utility you need for a specific situation, and you're just good with your throughput. Like the spec trees are obviously and should be all about throughput, right? Because that's just kind of what it is. Like the class trees being like this are just so much more fun to play with, and you have like so much more options.
Yeah,
but I understand that
they could have easily made the hunter tree like all utility. They didn't need to include just passive like pet damage increase, kill command damage increase. It's like they could have just made this utility instead.
Is every pure DPS class bottom tree only throughput?
So mage is only throughput, rogue is only throughput, pure DPS. I don't think any other pure DPS has been released, right? Warlock is
those three?
soon. Yeah, it's just those three, and they're all like that. But I mean, there's also healing classes that are like that too. Like Paladin, for example. Bottom of Paladin's tree is also just every single point you spend as soon as you get to here is like that. But obviously, they have a healer spec, similar issue. It's actually just the Shaman tree, the Druid tree, and the Evoker tree that are noticeably different than the rest of them, actually. They're all like some of the very best class trees, in my opinion.
One thing that someone pointed out to me is the designer for those two survival abilities, they did mention in the blue post they would, the intent is to have them be used like independent of one another.
Okay, so they do want the playstyle that we're talking about, which I honestly hard fuck with that.
That'd be cool,
because,
yeah.
Because it's like no
In theory,
other class.
but we'll
Yeah,
see.
in theory, of course. In theory, I hard fuck with the idea of survival playing differently than every other class in the game. It doesn't sound like it would necessarily be bad as well. Like in theory, it could definitely work and would play totally differently.
Has it ever been a thing before, a class having, like a spec having two major cooldowns that aren't used at the same time?
And also vastly change the buttons you're pressing in your playstyle during them. I'm trying to think. People have like mentioned they're just like throwing things at the wall. Like they mentioned like Eclipse with Moonkin. Like that's like completely and totally different. But like it's like maybe Arcane Mage like way back in the day when like they had like their burn rotation and then they had their conserve rotation, and like when they had their cooldowns up they just like hard burned mana, and then outside of that, but they weren't balancing between two different cooldowns. It was just like two different play styles in and out of one of them, so it's a little different.
This is hard stretching, but like old combustion fire mage where you had to like kind of play around getting a big combust on the mob. I don't know.
Yeah, it's definitely
This is pretty unique.
unique. Yeah. All right, I think that's it though. We had a nice combo. Evade finally woke up.